marketing program. And Lisa and Steve are two individuals who've actually been through the program and taking that back into the work that they do. It's really important for people to understand that the trend in social media is for it to be part of one of your skill sets. Like all of us have to learn how to type because no one has a secretary anymore, pretty much. All right? So how you do that and what kind of classes, where do you get that knowledge? Madison College is doing something about that. We wanted them to speak about business trends. So without further ado, I'll let Steve get started, and he's using cool technology to do this today.
Well, we are a tech school, so can you all hear me this morning? Should I use my teacher voice? So
yes.
I've been off for 2 months doing other weird little things, so I haven't needed a teacher voice. So just getting quiet. Josh, can you hear me? So, yay, cool, excellent. So, yes, my name's Steve Noel. I'm going to kind of lead this. I'm going to kind of go through this presentation and kind of talk about what's going on as we see the future. And one thing about teachers that is really kind of perplexing for us is the whole idea that when I start teaching a student, I know that they're not going to be applying this probably for a year, 2 years, 3 years into the future. So we have to always think is what are we teaching today isn't going to be relevant tomorrow. And especially with social media, it's been really interesting because in the year now that we've been teaching these classes, each semester they've changed. Obviously, they're evolving and going forward. So before I kind of go through the presentation, I want to turn it over to Kristen. She's going to kind of talk about exactly what the school's doing for our program. We're going to hand out our curriculum sheets, and we would love, you can either keep them, or if you, because you guys are business people, you're the ones that are actually out there doing it, our role is to train your future workers. And we want to know what should we be teaching. So you can look at what we are teaching. We've got some people handing out the sheets and all that. But feel free to note on it, circle things, say, why aren't you add this, take this out, why are you teaching this, nobody uses this anymore. We would love that feedback. So further ado, Kristen?
Good morning. I also will turn on my teacher voice. Just coming back after 3 months off. This is actually our first day that we're kind of back at Madison College. So welcome to our college, and one of the things that I wanted to start with, some of you may know that we are going through a rebranding of our college. We have a new logo. So if you've been to any of the AMA meetings, we spoke about our rebranding. And the reason that I bring that up is because when people think about Madison College, hence the reason you don't hear us referring to ourselves as MATC anymore. When people hear Madison College, they think of us as a vocational school or a technical school. And actually, I had that same perception of the college when I started working there. I came out of corporate. I've worked over 10 years in corporate marketing. And I've only been teaching at Madison College for 3 years. And when I came into the college, I was like, wow, I had no idea. Some of the programs that we have are the best kept secrets in Madison because we do a lot of professional training through our college and a lot of outreach in the community for customized training. But we also have a lot of programs that don't fall under vocational training. And one of those programs is our social media certificate, which we have launched. We have been running it for 1 year. Last year was our first full academic year. And basically, when Steve and I came in, Steve's relatively new as well to the college. He's been there less than 5 years. And what we did is we looked at the marketing program and said, we have a big hole. We're not offering anything in social media, and this is the biggest emerging trend right now in marketing. So we put together a cross-functional certificate in the college that is between marketing, journalism, graphic design, and visual communications. We all came together as a group and said, what should we be offering the students for social media? We also just made social media campaigns a required course within our marketing curriculum. It was an elective, and we feel strongly that it needs to be a required course for our students to take because of all of the trends going on in social media. So we have a new program certificate. Again, it's cross-functional, and it's really designed for marketing professionals, people working in graphic design, visual communication, that want to come back and get some additional training in social media because as social media professionals, many of you have learned on the fly, right? And you haven't had formal training in social media. So hence how we put together a certificate. So we have 3 required courses that are all 3 credits each. It's a 12-credit program. And the 3 required courses are interactive design strategies, which comes out of our graphic design area. And that's really looking at web usability, SEO, analyzing websites, and they actually take companies' websites, analyze them, and develop a proposal to improve their web usability. Social media campaigns, which is what Steve and I teach, it comes out of the marketing side of the college, and that is looking at putting together ad campaigns via social media, looking at the legal and ethical ramifications, looking at metrics. And we take a business from the community and put together a social media plan so that the students actually leave there with things that they can take and put into a portfolio. So if anybody here is interested in having a class work on a social media plan for you, just to get other ideas, you can contact Steve and I. So far in my class, we've done a women's health center and a chocolate company, a local chocolate company, where we've actually brought them in as a client and then delivered a full social media plan to them. So if you're interested in having your business take that on, we love the opportunity to work on real case studies. So that comes out of the marketing side of the house. And then the third required class is writing for new media, which comes out of our journalism side of the house. And that's really important, as we know, because we can't write like we're writing for traditional media when we're talking conversationally and new media. Then we have 2 elective classes of which students can pick one or the other. One is a digital storytelling class, which is basically an intro video. How can I take video, get it on the web? It's not real detailed because it's only an 8-week class. And then adopting new media or social media skills is the last class, which is an elective, and that class is really how to use all of the different technology out there. So we are looking for your feedback as experts in the social media area. What else should we be offering? Do we have any holes in our curriculum? We have a couple of students here that are working in social media that have come through some or all of the social media classes. And the other real key thing that we've done is look at delivery methods. We offer these classes online, of which our social media campaigns class, we just added another section online because we keep filling up our sections. We offer it in a hybrid format. I teach hybrid, which means we meet once a week and the rest of the class is online for 8 weeks. And then we offer more traditional, like come to the classroom for 8 weeks. So we try to be, meet all of the different learning styles, and especially people with busy schedules, make it convenient for people to come to take our classes. So again, love your feedback, and if you have any questions or comments, you can see either Steve or I.
Before I jump into all this stuff, I do want to give Liesl and Steve a chance to just talk for a minute. Liesl, you've completed the certificate, and Steve is in the process of working.
2 out of 3. 2 out of 3.
Getting through it, so. But both of them are now working in the real world, as we call it, in social media. So how was it? How was the class?
I liked Steve's class. Actually, he called me before to ask me to come today, and I because I thought it was the most practical. It kind of combined all the different aspects. So you came up with a real campaign. My background, I went to UW Madison and I got degrees in marketing, international business, and French, and that was kind of before social media, which dates me a little bit. But I started using social media for my current job. I work at a creative company and I do a lot of social media and marketing strategy there. But I was just kind of learning as I went, and it wasn't very credible. So that's one of the reasons why I decided to take this program, was to lend credibility to what I was already doing and pick up kind of any tidbits, any strategies that I could. It took me a year. I just took one class after the other. So starting last fall, I went through the program. And it was very comprehensive. Even I wasn't planning on learning about web design and things to consider when you're designing a website, but that was kind of an added bonus. And things that I didn't think of really did play into social media. So it was a nice program, very thorough.
My name's Steve Davis. I'm the social media director at Smart Motors here in town, Smart Toyota. My background is, prior to getting in the car business, I was in the internet business, worked for several companies in Madison from about 1996 to 2000 and 2000. I started my own company. Did that for about 3 years, myself and 2 other guys, and we burned ourselves out pretty quick, working 80, 90 hours a week, and decided to take a break from the internet and everything that was going on there, and landed myself in the car business somehow. And having been in the car business for 8 years, and learning that side of the business, it's something where we determined that social media is a big player in our marketing these days. Interacting with customers on Twitter, on Facebook, we find out about complaints. We're able to resolve them and reach out to people. Like Liesl, I've been toying around with social media and playing with it personally, and you know, starting to use it and integrate it in at work, but we didn't really have a strategy, we didn't have a background. So I found the classes at MATC, or Madison College now, and I saw the classes. My first one was the social media campaigns, took it with Kristen, and it was really a nice toolkit. The way the classes are designed, the way that the students were, you know, we each researched a different topic or a different tool in social media, so we got to learn about these other tools that were available to us. And that allowed us, I think, to be a little bit more choosy, because I think everybody's first intention is in social media is like, oh my God, we have to be everywhere. We've got to get out there, and everybody does a poor job of it because they spread themselves too thin. By taking the class, learning about the different tools that are available, the different sites, be it Twitter or Delicious or Dig or Facebook, it was able to allow us to really zero in and determine where we need to be, find out where our customers are. There's no reason for me to be where my customers aren't. Find out where my customers are. We polled our customers. We surveyed them via email. Are you doing this? Where are you at? And went out and started reaching out to them. We've been doing it now since January with some pretty excellent results. We've been able to learn a lot about our business from our customers. All in all, it's given us a foundation. We're just now starting our blogs, now getting into the journalism class to learn how to speak on a little bit different level than what we've been used to. So I highly recommend the program.
Okay, so now we get to go into the academic stuff. So, and it's really interesting. Teaching this, when Wendy said, you know, do you want to come in and talk to them? We talked about doing this last spring, and it's well documented that I'm not a morning person. So she's like, oh yeah, we got this social media breakfast, there's all these people that come to it, and I'm just like, so breakfast to me is what, 10:30, 11? You know, an early class for me is 11 a.m. So this fall, my earliest class is at 3:30 in the afternoon. So it was kind of like, well, what am I going to teach about? And I do a lot of social media outreaches with the school and all that. They send me around all these people to talk about it. And it's really interesting because a lot of times I'm talking to people that their knowledge of social media is fairly low. You know, they want to know, you know, how Facebook works. I'm assuming all you guys know how Facebook works. So we're not going to cover that this morning. But as a teacher, you have to kind of adapt yourself to different levels of the learner. For example, last fall, I found this in the first time I taught the social media class. My first night of class, I will say, okay, now we're going to go on, and everybody Google a business that you think is kind of cool, and let's look at what they're doing. The person raises their hand, I'm like, yes, and they're like, what's a Google search? And exactly, that was my first reaction. As a teacher, I can't go, hello, why are you in college? But you have to kind of realize that this. So Wendy's like, well, come to talk to all these social media people, and I'm like, I don't want to. They know more than I. When I had Liesl, where's Liesl? Where'd you go? You ran off way over there. So she's in my class. I'm like, did you actually learn something in my class? You knew everything, so you were really good at it. So.
You talked about some new tools that I hadn't heard of.
Social gaming.
Social gaming and memes.
Yeah, memes. We talked about memes and all that and how they can be used in a campaign. So for me, the challenge this morning was to kind of put something together that was kind of interesting. So what we talk about a lot at school is I'm not really thinking about what's going on today. I'm really concerned with what's going on tomorrow because I'm trying to teach people. That's the uniqueness about my role in social media. To me, 2011 is old news because, you know, what's going to be happening next year. So I kind of put together some stuff where I want to kind of look at what we see as the role of a social media job or a social media manager or whatever that is. So I titled my little talk, Madison College presents Dr. Mopo SMX. that great? We just love it. We see little weird things like that with little asterisks and all that. So, well, what is an SMX? Everybody immediately thinks social media expert, right? Because that's what we are in this room. We are all social media experts. At least that's how we're introduced to our friends, right? So here, you want to talk to Steve. He's our social media expert. So, you know, that puts a lot of pressure on me. Personally, I hate that title. But we're going to come back to that. So what is MOPO? Well, in looking at some of this stuff, I found this expression, multiple online personality disorder. So the whole idea that in today's crazy world, we are all fractured into these different pieces. So, and a lot of people, it's almost, like we should all be, popping Prozac on a regular basis just to keep all our personalities in order. But what I'm finding is that's not necessarily difficult. And maybe it's just a change of people's personas, but we are used to that now. And that's the thing is the whole idea of, okay, this is my family group, this is my friends, this is my coworkers, they don't ever blend. Well, now they're blending and all that. People are kind of going, wait a second, what do you mean that, my sister knows what I was doing last week with my college buddies? That's not supposed to happen. And now in social media, it is. But what we're seeing is that the people that are coming into it now, they're fine with this. It's not a disorder. They are orderly living their lives that way. That's how the next generation is working. The whole idea that you blend your personal life with your professional life, with your activities and all that, it all comes together. So we're looking at this whole new way of thinking about a person's role. So it's multiple online personality order, or MOPO. So I did go on Twitter yesterday because I'm like, wow, MOPO, I should hashtag that. So, and there is a MOPO, but it's in like Italian or something. So I think I can actually hold on to that. So, but I want to kind of go and continue this and look at some trends. And first of all, I have a question. So, should I be watching this? Are there questions coming in? I'm looking at you only because you were setting everything up.
No, actually, it's hung up and it's giving everything from like 14 hours ago. Is anybody tweeting? Yeah.
Okay. Well, here's one thing. I love interactive conversations, so feel free, and remember I'm a teacher, feel free to raise your hand. See, raising your hand back there, oh, you're scratching, okay. But yes, feel free to, because I want to know feedback, and I want you guys to tell me if what I'm seeing is accurate. So I just did a couple look at some trends. So our school, a lot of our programs are 2-year programs. Our social media program is a year. But usually we look at 2-year cycles. So I went online and I looked at what was the big trend supposedly for 2009. And I found some of these, and of course all this stuff was, the end of 2008. So let me ask you this, is this stuff that you're still doing, leveraging offline contacts, is that something that's still relevant? I mean, 2 years ago that was supposed to be the hot thing you were supposed to be doing. So, what about mobile and iPhone stuff? Anyone see an increase in mobile over the last 2 years? Yes?
I'm just saying yes.
Oh, you're just acknowledging that, yes. So, how many people have a smartphone with them? Hopefully. In this room, I would think it's everyone. Did you all check into Foursquare? I am the mayor of Madison College West. I challenge you to dethrone me. So, actually, you can have West, but you're not going to get Truax, because that's where I'm based out of, and that's my turf. So I fought for that mayorship for 6 months with a student last semester. We went back and forth, back and forth. She would get it, I would get it, she would get it. She graduated. It's mine. So it's mine. So, but you can have that. So, but yes, I think looking back, mobile is definitely, we see that growing. So what about video? Is video growing? Is that something that's becoming more and more important? So this whole idea of, especially true as DSL cable and speeds improve. So boy, wouldn't it have been great if we'd gotten like Google Fiber in Madison? Boy, too bad that didn't happen. I wonder if there's anything that can be done to get that. So, by the way, I live in Sun Prairie. Great testing. So that would be great. So, by the way, Christian lives there too, so we'll take it. So, but I think that's true, and it's really interesting that people even just a couple years ago were still worrying about or being concerned that, oh, I don't really want to invest in all this stuff because people are maybe still on dial-up. So, you know, and again, dial-up is still out there, but are we really talking about that still? Or are we making the assumption that people have really moved beyond dial-up and they're really moving towards mobile? So I kind of started and said, well, this is 2 years ago. You know, this is where we were at. So then I kind of looked at, you know, what about 2011? What were people saying for this year? And, you know, obviously these are some of the bigger things. You know, creating content. You know, and that's the one thing that we see in social media. Content is king, absolutely. You have to have content. I had a really great conversation at school, actually, on Monday. Kristen doesn't even know this. Our paralegal program wants to launch like a Facebook page and all that stuff. So they called me in and said, how do you set that? You know how fun it was talking to lawyers about setting up a Facebook page? Oh, that was really fun. The meeting was an hour long. About 5 minutes of it actually dealt with how to set up a Facebook page. Everything else was privacy. So it was really interesting though. So that's gonna be a little fun project. Kristen, I might turn that one over to you. But what about locations and really hyper localizing things? So Google. Yeah, you like that idea? So sorry if I said Foursquare. So I apologize. So what about gaming? Let me ask you this: how many of you guys are doing social gaming with your work? Now you're all on Farmville, right? We know that. So Farmville is the #1 video game in the world. Did you know that? So, and the big question is it a video game? Lisa had to write a paper on it. Yeah, you did. So, is it a video game? Because social games and video games are different. And it's important to know the difference between the two of them because it's a huge industry. It's a huge, huge industry. And social gaming, you know, on Facebook, it's the #1 thing to do on Facebook is play these social games. So how do you bring that into your business? Anyone doing it? Anyone kind of unlocked that one about playing a game with your customers? So there's a lot of really interesting engagement things of doing that stuff. So that's something in 2011 that people should be looking at. And that's one of the things I make the students write a little paper. When I say paper, what is it, 3 pages? So it wasn't awful. So, you know, the difference between a video game and a social game and understanding how to apply that. So what about QR codes? You guys all using QR codes? A couple people are. So I'm assuming everybody in this room knows what a QR code is. So Steve, you're using them. So how are they working out?
We just started the trial now, but we're setting them up on the lot where all our used vehicles will have QR codes, and when it comes up to the lot, they can shoot the QR code, it'll take them right to the web page that has all the vehicle information, pricing information, history, car guides.
Is that great?
Could you repeat that?
Oh, he was talking about putting all QR codes on their used cars. So when you go to the lot, you can just scan it, and it'll have the price, the information, the vehicle history, you know, all the information that you would know. Yes.
So there's some people who are not familiar with QR codes. Could you explain that?
Leave this room. So, you're here to learn. So, okay, you've seen a QR code. QR codes are those square things. They're very square. They're basically like a square barcode. They look like a little square thing. Yeah. Are they on there?
Yeah.
So, okay, on the invite, there's a little square. It's a QR code. And what you do is you take your smartphone and you can download a QR reader. It's a free app. And you just scan it, and then it immediately takes you to a website about that. So like if you go to a retail store, like Best Buy has gotten really good at it, where every product on Best Buy on the price tag has a QR code. So you can go up and you can scan it, and then it'll bring up a website with everything you possibly want to know about that location. So we're seeing a lot more QR codes with like retail outlets. So like if you go to a store, you can scan it, and you do everything from getting virtual coupons to getting more information. And I mean, the used car thing is really great because how do you sell cars on a Sunday? I believe in the state of Wisconsin, that's illegal. So you cannot sell a car on, can you even work on Sunday?
No.
So you can't even work on Sunday. But you know what, do people shop for cars? Thank you, Lisa, also. So she actually has to do real work now. So, How do you do that? Well, they've got it right there where you can just scan it and all the information is right there. And obviously, there's probably an easy way just to like contact the person that you're, like a salesperson, and then you can follow up with them on Monday morning. So QR codes, if you're not using them, how many people are dealing in, just out of curiosity, how many are you B2C? And how many, so B2C, who's B2C, raise your hand. Okay, who's B2B? Okay, well, I mean, it's really interesting because with B2B, how many guys have QR codes on your business cards? Oh, really? Come on, Google. Sorry, you wore the t-shirt, you're gonna get picked on. But I mean, that's a great thing, is people put QR codes right on their business card, and then you can just scan it, and it'll take you right to my resume with video and multimedia and all that stuff. So, obviously commerce and social commerce, the whole idea of shopping based on your friends. That's a big thing right now, that, people do not trust advertising. Less than 1 in 5 people trust advertising these days. Part of it is our fault because advertising has become a regular class in school really since the late 70s. So we have raised a generation of people that have been taught advertising. How many people watch Mad Men? So I refuse to watch that show going, I am not going to watch a show about advertising, it's going to be awful. Then I realized it's really not about advertising. But part of me kind of goes, it'd be kind of cool to kind of go back to I'd probably be dead from lung cancer today, but it would be interesting just to be able to do ad campaign for people that don't understand advertising. Today, everybody understands it to some degree, so you have to really kind of work around that. And social commerce, the whole idea of, you see it on Facebook that, Steve just finished reading Miracle Beach that he downloaded on Amazon Kindle. So Kristen sees it and she's like, oh, Steve's got great taste in books. I'll download this too. We're seeing more and more stuff like that starting to develop, and I think that really ties into what Google is doing, the whole idea of people are really looking for, recommendations and tips versus an ad campaign. And that's really a fundamental shift that we're seeing. Now, do you guys agree? I mean, we want to know that, because should I be teaching traditional advertising or should I be teaching more social interaction? So it's really something to kind of consider. So what about next year? So, we look at projecting out, the students that are coming to our programs this fall, that, if they're going to spend a year with us and we kick them out in the middle of 2012, what's going to be going on in social media? And it seems to me the big thing is this concept of trust. You may have heard about the news of the world over the summer and phone hacking. So, that's got a little bit of some ramifications going on right there. But it's really interesting that, and again, this goes back to my meeting on Monday with my lawyer colleagues. A lot of it was trust. And how many of you guys are law people? How many have a degree in law? So we have the Google people. Well, you know what? I always heard that Google has more lawyers than programmers. So, no, actually that's Apple. So, but I mean, that's one thing, that going into this stuff, copyright protection, copyright infringement. So, how many of you guys think about that? When you put out content up there, so do you scrutinize every element? I mean, I created the Prezi, and I'll admit it, I Googled images and stole them and threw them up here. So now, that's protected because it's educational. So that's legal, I can do that. So, but if I were to be like out there creating Prezis that I was gonna sell to people and say, hey, take my presentation and use it out in the world, pay me $10, that would be a copyright violation. So, but as social media people, we need to think about that, because everybody just goes out to the web, Googles an image, saves it, throws it into a PowerPoint or whatever. We all do it. Yep. So she's even admitting it. At least one person admitted it. So that's okay. Those are the only 2 lawyers, and they work for Google, so they're okay. But we have to think about that as to ethics. So how many of you have companies that have set social media policies? We're starting to see that. How many of your HR people are trained in social media? A couple people? My name is Stephen David Noel, okay? I'm from Madison, Wisconsin. Right. Go on to Google. Thank you. I've actually discovered this about 7, 8 years ago. There's another Stephen David Knoll from Wisconsin, not Madison, who's not a very nice person. In fact, he's doing, I think, 15 years right now for like, you know, violent aggravated battery. I only get mad in the morning when I haven't had my coffee. So of course, when I got this, you know, job at school, they're like, well, we need to do a background check on you before we can offer you a job. And I'm like, thank you to Google. One night I was bored, I Googled my own name, discovered this other Stephen David Knoll, and I said to our HR people, if you're doing a background check, check the birth date, because he's 10 years younger than me, and don't confuse us. I happen to know that, and our HR person is just like, I never thought to Google someone. And I'm like, you know, these are people that are, granted, this was 5 years ago, so maybe things, you know, have evolved since then. But I mean, this is something as us, as the leaders in social media, need to be thinking about that stuff. Because everyone's like, oh, you do social media, so you know, you're putting, you know, click-throughs and cost per clicks and all that stuff. So, well, there's a lot more to social media than that, and you have to really think of it more holistically. Because what's 2012? What's 2013? Well, the world's going to end at the end of 2012, so we don't have to worry about 2013. So. It's kind of funny. I'm looking at a trip potentially to go to Egypt in December of 2012. My whole idea of the world's going to end. I want to be next to the pyramids and let them when they open up. Okay. So the next part of this, I kind of thought about, you know, what makes a media person social. I came out of media. My background is advertising. So I worked in an ad agency. I could explain a rate. Well, let me ask you this: who else can explain a rating point? If you hear that, you know, American Idol did a 24 in women 35-54, who can tell me what that means? Tell me if that was good. No one. You guys don't know ratings.
Viewership.
What?
Viewership.
Yeah, a rating is a percent of viewership within your possible universe. So if it's a 24, that's 24% of everybody. So that's a phenomenal number. So what about CPP? Cost per point? Cost per rating point? So this is the stuff this is yesterday's advertising class. I mean, in addition to social media, we also have principles of advertising. This is the stuff I teach in that class. But it's interesting because in social media, we're talking a lot more about accountability and metrics. And I'm a numbers geek. I love numbers. So to me, ratings is really, really interesting. And yes, we have Nielsen does TV, Arbitron does radio. And we're starting to see more stuff for social media. I don't think there's really one. I mean, I admit, Google Analytics, you guys do a great job at providing that stuff. But I mean, how much of us are statistics people? When I was in grad school, I did a 6-credit statistics class. It hurt. It really did. So I can understand beta binomial theories, but I don't want to do them. So, but it's really interesting to kind of go back and figure out all those numbers. So this is where our little disorder thing comes from. So right in the center is you. Now let me think about this. Put yourself in this situation. What spaces do you hang out in as a person? Who are you? You know, who do you want to be? And this is another thing with social media, at least in the future. We have to start thinking about who do people want to be? Because in my social media personality, I may not necessarily be Steve. When I go out shopping, I might want to be somebody else. And I might shop thinking about that. Is that weird?
Depends on what you're buying.
Well, that all depends on what I'm buying. So that's for Saturdays. I won't tell you all that. But that's one of the things that when you think about social media, you have to start getting into the mindsets of consumers. And in the past, it was really easy. So, okay, Kristen, I know you. I'm going to pick on you. So, I mean, right away, female. So that means you like shoes. Of course. So, you probably drive a minivan. Yeah, you probably have 2.3 kids. Yeah, 3, yeah. Now it's up to 3. So I mean, you are actually, I mean, you're great because you are your demographic. So, I mean, it's really, really simple. My best friend just turned 50, so he lives and dies by Z104 radio. Loves it, loves it. You get in his car, he's cranking Z104. Wait, anyone here working radio? Okay, I can't listen to Z104. Okay, I'm 43, I'll be 44 next month. So, but I look at him and go, you can't do that. You are a male, a 50-year-old male. You can't listen to Z104. He's like, why not? I like it. Well, you know, part of me, you know, that old-fashioned marketing sense of, you can't do that. That's not who you are. So, how many guys here listen to Z104? Yeah, I was going to say, and we'll admit, I saw some fingers going up, so some people are like, yeah, we'll listen to it. Okay, who listens to Delilah? Which would you rather admit, guys, that you listen to Z104 or that you listen to Delilah? So, Tony, come on, you got that soft part. So you have to really start to think about that in the last 10 years with the rise of social media, the whole idea that people used to be able to compartmentalize their lives, all of a sudden their lives are being put all together. So Kristen and I are friends on Facebook. I'm sorry. So she understands my crazy life, and I look at her and her kids and go, I don't know how she does it. So how do you do all this stuff? So how old's your youngest now? 2?
Well, I have a 13-year-old, an 11-year-old, and an 18-month.
Yeah, that was a little.
That was a little midlife surprise.
Yeah. Chris and I were working on a trip to China with students. That's been delayed about 5 years now. So yeah, thanks. Appreciate that. Yeah. So, but this is one of the things. Going back to people, their personalities. Do you guys think about that when you're talking about your customers or your clients? All you B2B people over there. That's like this side of the room is like all B2B stuff. So, I mean, are you really thinking about how people integrate all the different parts of their lives into one unit now? And it drives marketing people nuts, because again, you're supposed to be, you know, what your demographic says. So, you like to golf. Do you? On occasion. So, I will golf, but only if there's a windmill at the end of it. So, the only time I do it. So I mean, you know, we have to really move beyond this whole idea and then really put people all together. So, you guys, are you familiar with Prezi, this program that I'm using to do this?
Will that be available?
I can make it available. It's Prezi has different levels of like security and all that stuff. I certainly can. So I can at least email you the link if you let me know.
If you would post, we'll post it out on socialmediabreakfast.com.
Oh, perfect. Yeah,
and we'll put it in our Facebook group.
Prezi just did an upgrade, and they now offer a download function. But I have to admit, I haven't played with it yet, so I don't know how that works. But at least, yeah, you can find this stuff. So if you think about that, you know, if we look at our spaces and who am I and who do I want to be, these are the things that we have to be thinking about. So, you know, spaces, you know, we hang out on Facebook, we hang out on Twitter. How many people actually use Twitter on a regular basis? So, oh, I love that. I love Twitter. I really think it's cool. I mean, when I started it, it's like, really, I don't care that Britney Spears just said something. I don't really care. So I didn't use Twitter for a year, and then all of a sudden, it's like, well, you got to teach social media, Steve. You got to figure out Twitter. So I went back into it and realized it's really cool. I think it's really neat. Yes?
Just a quick question. So in talking with, and I see this more in the B2B space than so much in B2C, but it's happening. People, when you're talking about identity crisis, people don't...
It's not a crisis anymore, but...
Well, people that I talk to, some want to be themselves, and they want to be themselves for their brand. Other people want to hide behind an avatar, behind the brand. There's no personality to the brand. And I have some particular views on that. Most importantly, I find the younger the individual is, at either end, the younger individuals and the older individuals really have this trend. Social and personal is way out here. This is business. I don't want to share my stuff stuff versus the people in the middle that are more open to be themselves and be business
Yes.
and mix it all together? What is it that you're seeing or teaching? Or
Well, and this thing is, and again, there are a lot of people that they really are still in that, I want to keep everything separate. What we're seeing is that people are becoming more open, that everything's blending together. So, and that could be a cultural change. I mean, that could be culture. Now, there's always going to be people that, believe me, the lawyers on Monday, you know, one of them is just like, I've never touched Facebook, I won't touch Facebook. And it's kind of funny. I'm like, well, you're going to have it for your department. You have to. So I mean, that's the thing is, my theory, and this is what I would want to talk to my students about, is we're in a transitional period right now. But as we move forward, people are going to become more and more open to that. Now, security and privacy, that is always something that you have to maintain. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about putting my credit card number, you know, up on my Facebook page or anything like that. But the whole idea that we are now becoming much more, well, in social media, how many of you people work Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, and that's it? I mean, that, you know, 10 years ago, if I had said, well, I'm going to look for a job, the first thing you have, what are the hours? So, are we done, you know, on the weekends, or by Friday at 4:30? So, I'm not going to take this job if I have to work on a Friday night. How many people here have worked on a Friday night? So, welcome to the new order. The whole idea that we now work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Yes, ma'am?
Well, on the note of the mixing social and business, we just had a marketing offsite meeting, and they did a whole social media. It was supposed to be training, but really they gave us cameras to hold and make YouTube videos and throw it out and see who got the most hits and what they had for it. And in the process of it, they give us this 3-page document. Basically, you have to sign this in order to do any social media. And if you have any social presence on the internet and you don't go by these rules, and personal also, you don't go by these rules, you could potentially be fired. So it's like, okay, do this or not, you know? Now, so there, in their eyes, there is no separation between social. So I have a LinkedIn account, I have a Facebook account, I'm Beth Carr, and if I do something on my Facebook, and like one of the examples they used was, just had a great day, awesome meeting, gonna close a 6-figure deal at the end of the quarter. The analysts are monitoring that stuff, and now you just, you know, screwed the company for. So it's kind of interesting how it's not separate for some companies, you know, and I have a feeling that that's gonna start playing more and more.
Oh,
How
sure.
do you create your alias? Why do I have to be an alias in my personal life in order to not be back?
Well, and that's one of the things is, this is where the next couple of years we have to look at, because I don't know the answer to that, because right now I see this growth of people being more open to that, and I think that's going to grow. But exactly, if you work for Pepsi and then someone posts a picture on Facebook and you're drinking a Coke, or you're like doing a Yahoo search, picture of that. I mean, you know, exactly. But that's one of the things that we're exploring, because I don't know where it's going to kind of go into the future. It's really interesting. Yes, Steve, question over there, or comment.
I have a couple of things to say about that. One is, you know, transparency is just part of our world now.
Yep.
With Google and with the ability to search people.
It's very ubiquitous, yes.
You know, yeah, and so I think that is part of the reason behind the trend of not hiding behind the brand and becoming more open in terms of if you're, you know, you know, what you show your customers and the whole YouTube phenomenon.
Yes.
It has a lot to do with transparency.
And you said not hiding behind it, being transparent.
Right.
Yes, and if I can add on that's one of the things of, as a brand, would you want to be hiding? Because what are people going to say if you're a brand and you're putting an email there and you're purposely trying to hide stuff? People are immediately going to say something's wrong. Because again, remember, lesson 1 in 5, trust advertising. So if you're trying to use that, back that up, so that could potentially come back on your brand.
And the other thing I was going to say was that, I don't want to use the word privacy, but I guess that's really the most appropriate, is there have been cases in front of courts with employers having fired employees for Facebook posting.
Oh yeah, yep. We're seeing more and more of that.
And they're now siding on the employees.
Yes, yep.
There was an article somewhere.
Oh yeah, you go on to Facebook, go, I hate my boss, and then all of a sudden you get fired for posting that on Facebook. Yes, yes, and that's, we're seeing more and more of these weird little situations. But you know, you can say, God, that's awful, or you can say, welcome to the new world. So that's kind of it. Yes.
I think one thing we need to all admit to ourselves is that the idea of privacy is pretty much gone. Okay. Once you set up your Facebook page, once you put a post out there, once you put your information online, the idea of privacy is pretty much gone. I kind of, you know, we have several different people that work with me at the dealership that are responsible for generating content that we put online. I approve it all, just, you know, to make sure we don't get ourselves in some sort of trouble. But the idea behind it is, I tell them all, you know, participate in social media like your mom's watching. I mean, honestly, I mean, that's really, as businesses, you know, we struggle. I fought with our human resources department for the better part of 2 months this year on social media policy. Who could be online? Who can't be online? What are they going to say? What are we going to do if they do something disparaging about the business? But, you know, and I said, you know what? We're all adults. Let's open up to a few key people, let them start shedding some examples and show people how it's done, and then we can kind of meter it. We had some people that were very successful. We had some people that are represented us in social media right now. So I think it's a balance, and once we all come to accept the fact that our private life is now available for all of us to see, unless we don't participate, that you have to be transparent. You have to make sure that everything that you do, you know, you're keeping in mind what effect that's having. You know, we have a policy that when you leave work, you do not go out after work wearing a work shirt, anything that has our logo or says that, you know, and it'd be because we've had instances, I mean, it's the car business, folks. We've had instances where we'll get a phone call on Monday morning explaining to us how offended somebody was because they saw one of our employees wearing one of our shirts, you know,
Passed out in the bar.
Passed out in the bar, or being belligerent, or something like that. And we have to correct that behavior because that, in turn, affects our brand image. I think that's the biggest key. You have to give up your privacy if you're going to play this game.
And that's interesting because think about that. The idea of shirts with the logos, that's not a new thing. That was around in the 60s and the 70s. What were people doing then? So you can see this is not a new concept. It's just become much more prevalent in our world. So where else do we hang out? So okay, Foursquare, we won't show that one. So we have to think about that. You know, who am I? Am I, you know, with LinkedIn? What type of groups? So, and I'm glad that you brought about avatars. You know, this is something we're seeing more and more opportunities for people to go out and try something a little different and be a little different. So try to explore some of that stuff. So, and you guys do anything in Second Life? Let me ask this: is Second Life still relevant? Did it go anywhere?
Some people who really like games.
Yeah. Yeah, the game thing. The only time I've ever actually done anything in Second Life, I went to a concert in Second Life. So, yeah, only to find out that it wasn't even a real concert. It was just a recording of an old concert. They were just playing the audio with the band, kind of going like this. You know,
I saw a report that said that the senior side of it, that it dropped down into people having animal avatars and having sex.
Yeah, I can see that. So we're not going to use the S word because you guys are all business professionals. So we're talking about class though, because it's college. You got to spice it up a little bit. So the big thing is, you know, looking at who are they going to be in 2 years? When students are coming out of it, are they still going to be blending it together? Which I think they will. You know, I'm really amazed and somewhat shocked as to how open students are. I mean, I've learned things in class that I didn't want to know. So, but you know, sometimes it's kind of good. You know, the students, it's great when there's a word, and I'm like, can you translate this into old, because I need to know what a tramp stamp is. I didn't know, so I didn't know this. And of course, I'd ask my class. Everyone's going, it's don't ask. So hey, it's a great sounding board. So okay, so let's move on. Let's go look at some trends. So I would say today's skills. This is what you guys are all doing, right? Strategic planning. Is that something that you guys are doing? Are you all tech savvy? Would you say that you're tech savvy? So, would you say that you understand consumer insights? What about public relations? You know, public relations and social media, they kind of go hand in hand. So, professional geek, come on, raise your hand if you admit it. So, if you're truly a geek, you're proud of that fact. So yes. I mean, that's really one thing that people, when they say you're a social media person, isn't this the implication that this is what you do? And is this what you do? Is this generally kind of what you're doing today? Yes, what am I missing? Yes?
Really strong writing skills.
Writing, yeah. And we're seeing that. And I can tell you right now, students today, their writing skills are atrocious. Everybody thinks you can spell check your way through life. There, and there. Know the three meanings. So, yeah. And if you spell it THR with an 8 or something like that, so no. Now, there's a time and a place for that. You know, if you are writing to that, who's dealing with a product that's aimed at 16 to 24-year-olds? Okay, can you speak that? Can you speak text?
Well, for a school district, so we try not to.
Oh, you try not to? Okay. Yeah. So, what do you do? What do you do?
I'm a communications person in that.
Oh God, yes. Oh, I'm sorry. So you probably learned a lot of words too. So yes.
Miniatures and other board games.
Oh, cool. So talk. Inner geek right there, bring it on. So, oh yeah, I'm a D&D person, back from the old school. So absolutely, you need to know how to do that. And it's interesting because we have this writing class, and the whole idea is, you know, it's journalism, but you need to write to your audience. And how many people can do that? I mean, before I started teaching, I worked in the advertising. One of my clients worked for the Kalahari Water Park, and my boss, the owner of the ad agency, we introduced a stand-up surfing thing called a flow rider. He wrote, and he's not in the room, so I'm going to tell you this. He wrote the radio commercial. This is a 50-year-old man who had never been, you know, in an ocean, much less on a surfboard, writing a radio commercial aimed at 16-year-old guys. So I read it, and I'm just like, this is a parody. It has to be. So he's like, no, it's really good. I'm like, So I took our interns and had them rewrite it. I said, here, translate this. So, because they have to do that. I mean, that's kind of the skill set. So. Okay, let's go back to the social media expert. How many of you guys are social media experts? Oh, come on. So, there's our social media expert. That was cute. There's another one. They're so fun. But really, a social media expert to me, pay me. So, if you're going to call me a social media expert, I want to be paid. So, this is one of the things that I'm finding, which I think is a good trend, is our students, people are constantly calling me and saying, we want to bring someone in. What do you have? Like, we want to do an intern. Intern means free slave. So the one thing that I'm finding is that we can't place, I mean, a year ago, no problem. Now, we cannot place our students unless you can pay them. Because there's so many people out there trying, and again, we're in a quandary here because corporate America isn't quite sure what to make of this social media idea. They still think it's just a fad, it'll go away with the hula hoop. So, but they realize, and all of you realize that no, this is a real job, it's a real profession. So they're not necessarily going to authorize a position and pay someone full-time. So we're kind of in that middle section of everybody wants to try it out, but they're not really committed to spending the money. So Kristen actually did some research about money and all that stuff, and you know, we found out this. Average social media manager makes $55,000 a year. Is that right? Is it low? Is it high?
High.
No.
It's
No,
high.
it's low.
It's low.
It's low for what they do and the responsibility that they take on across a corporate entity.
Well, that's the thing is, yeah, I was really shocked because $55,000 for like something of where you know, you're going to pay me that where I have to give you my life 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and always be accessible. And now all of a sudden you're telling me I need to be an HR person, I need to be a lawyer, I need to be a marketer, I need to be a writer. Customer service, absolutely. So it's really interesting is, I think the good news is, I think in the next few years, we're going to see this number go up quite a bit because big business will realize the value of social media people. So, yes?
Don't you think that if that were presented as the pay, that you would come back and say, let's define what the expectations are?
Oh yeah, yeah. I'll pitch you out, but Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. My phone turns off at 5 o'clock. Do you want that?
And as a manager and implementer,
Yeah.
I mean, they're two different things potentially.
Yeah, they are. They are. No, this is just a generic, broad number. Yes.
I think also, if you look at there aren't very many people that specifically have social media management. They have social media responsibility in a couple of type B school in their department or marketing department.
Sure.
And they're trying to juggle it on top of their others.
Yes.
So
Yes.
I think, I mean, to me, that's, well, I guess it depends on the company.
Yeah. And yeah. This is just national. Yeah.
It'll be easier. It's just right now there's not that many people that just social media people. They
Right.
have that hack.
Right. Yes. And again, I think we're now seeing we're in this really interesting transitional era where people are companies are starting to realize that we need to have a dedicated social media team as part of a bigger, you know, you can't just have social media, you have to look at the whole marketing picture to it. There's a lot more to it. So, but yeah, it's really interesting. I did find some research that says a person with no experience going into social media is probably going to make about $14 an hour starting. So, the other thing that I found was really interesting is after about 5 years of experience, professional experience, your actually average salary goes down. So if you have 10 years of experience, you will make less than someone who has 5 years of experience. So I thought that was interesting because, and again, it goes back to this whole thing that this is a constantly changing thing. And if you're going to get into it, you have to have the type of personality that embraces change. So, and believe me, as teachers, we run into this where there are teachers that have been teaching the same stuff, teaching the same thing 10 years ago as they're teaching today. And it's like, you can't do that. I mean, you have to be refreshing and you have to be willing to constantly be learning and retraining. This is why, I mean, like people like Steve in our class is great because, you know, a class for us, it might be a third, 18 to 22-year-olds, right out of high school. And then we have a really good chunk of business professionals. And it's cool to really have somebody that is kind of like fresh and optimistic. They haven't been corrupted by, 10 years of corporate life. But then you have somebody that really is more grounded, more serious. And it's a really interesting mix. I think that you guys can learn from that. As a teacher, I learn quite a bit from that.
Steve, one thing to say is that I think as businesses, you need to make a decision whether you're going to get into social media or you're going to stay out. If you're going to get into social media, do not make it another job for an existing employee. You need to make the time and investment. I mean, you're talking about, one Twitter complaint can reach thousands of people like that, hundreds of thousands. Like in an instant, it can reach thousands. In a day, it can reach hundreds of thousands. We've all heard the horror stories of Comcast and all these, entities that did not pay attention. They did not have somebody dedicated to the program. This is as critical to your business now as it's ever going to be because we're at the cusp where it's about to explode for business. Most businesses are taking out. If you take it on and you make it somebody else's secondary job, you're setting yourself up for catastrophe because that person's going to burn out. They're not going to be able to stay on top of everything. I spend 4 hours of my day doing nothing but reading online. What's new, what's trending, what's changing. I need to find out where my customers are, and that's where I need to talk to them. And it changes. It's changed in the past 8 months. We've had to really turn an about face and start talking to customers in a different medium. So if you're going to get into the game, you need to make sure that you can dedicate the resources to get somebody that's their sole focus, because it's the only way you're going to get the best results.
Yeah, it's a, yes.
I find that if you're not in the game, that you will be.
Yeah.
Because we live under a review process orientated society.
Yeah.
Never in the history of mankind have we had such an absolute immediate effect of negative comments. I mean, you've got +1, you've got all these entities that drive all these items up to the top. All of a sudden you've got I got one car dealership I'm dealing with right now, didn't want anything to do with social media until all of a sudden the second reference underneath their name when they typed in used cars, that dealership was, I got treated like crap.
Yeah.
See, that's when all of a sudden they go, oh, I should have done something. Well, now it's too late.
In a way, my statement was almost kind of rhetorical, because like you said, if you choose as a business not to get involved, guess what? Your customers are going to take you there.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And you can either get in the game and play on their playing field, or you can let your competition walk away with all your profit.
Sure. Yes.
You even have to be prepared for people to extremely over-exaggerate and even lie about your brand. We find that happens a lot. A lot.
Yeah.
Like, an incident will have happened a year ago, but they are looking for a free room at our hotel, and so they tweet about it or blog about it or write a review. So you have to have plans in place to kind of address those.
Yeah. That's really good. I also came out of PR with crisis communication and writing all those plans.
All crisis, like,
yep, and dreaming about scenarios. Yes. Yeah, I used to say that I used to be paid to be cynical, because I would just come up with everything that could possibly go wrong. So, absolutely. So, we're now living in this whole era of doing all this stuff and mixing it together, and this is kind of the conclusion that I came through. This is kind of my thoughts on a social media expert. My little secret, buried in my cup of coffee, isn't Prezi cool? No. There is no such thing as a social media expert. So you can't be, because as soon as you're an expert in it, you stop learning. As soon as you become that expert, I'm an expert, I know everything. So you know what, I'm not going to change. Our marketing department, 2 years ago, Chris and I proposed we should have a set social media class. Our department said, we don't need that. We teach social media in a bunch of other classes. We don't need, a set class. So Chris and I snuck it in there by doing it as an elective. And of course, within a year, it's now a required class. And, and again, we've got 4 sections and they're almost all filled. So, and adding more. So it's really interesting. Just, people that you think are marketing professionals are still not sure about social media. You have to kind of keep going. Yes?
It's funny too, on the social media expert, is our students come into the classroom and think that we should be social media experts, and we're not, because there is no such thing as a social media expert. Because I'm constantly learning new stuff from my students. Like, wow, that's really cool. I didn't know that was out there. So it's really important as an educator, I think, to let them know right out. I tell my students the first day, I know a lot about social media, but I'm sure not an expert, and that they bring a lot of ideas, especially in our social media certificate when we have a lot of professionals in there. They bring a lot of great things that we don't even cover.
We don't know. Yeah, it's great to just listen to that. And there's an expression in marketing, and I can say to you guys, because you're not students, plagiarize and modify. So that's kind of what you do. That's what we're marketing. See what other people are doing. See what they're doing, kind of take it, modify it. The lawyers tell us you have to change it 22% to make it your own. So, but that's kind of how it works. So, when I see this whole SMX thing, it's a social media exciter. That's what an SMX is. So if you have a business card and you really want to put, So it depends on who you're talking to. Someone that really doesn't know, yes, hi, I'm a social media expert. But if you're actually talking to someone who knows what they're doing, you're a social media exciter. It's kind of a way to sneak in that little SMX. In fact, Liesl had to leave and all that. So I saw that she just added that because she got her certificate. So she's now Liesl Olson, SMX. And I'm like, social media exciter. So okay, so now I'm a teacher, so we give you homework. That's what we do. So we handed out the lists of the curriculum sheets. This is for you guys to keep or whatever, but if you want to jot down anything or even cross things off or just say add this, we would love your professional feedback as to what we should be teaching. Because our job is to bring you your future employees. As you guys become these social media managers, being paid hopefully 6 figures and all that, and adding people, we want to provide you the people that you're going to add. We want to know what it is, and we want to know that we're on track for tomorrow and next year and the year after that. So, I mean, really, if you just have any thoughts, you just jot it down, circle things. Yes?
So, really cool classes, but when I went to the continuing education options,
Yes.
they're not an option.
Okay, continuing education is a different, this room.
But we decided all of us are working every night and all weekend. The people in this room, can you take any of these?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
They're
yeah.
online or at night? Or
Yeah, and that's the thing is,
They're totally
yeah.
online.
My social media class that I'm doing this fall, I'm doing an 100% online class. I'm also doing a Thursday night class. It meets once a week on Thursday nights for 8 weeks. So, and then the rest of it is on a hybrid class. So, I mean, we are taking that into consideration as we're offering these classes. Some of the classes, depending on what they are, and sometimes there are constraints in terms of like availability of labs and all that, but we're trying to become much more. So yes, but this is actually accredited or stuff. So, I mean, when you take these classes, they will show up on your transcript with a graded credit. So, yes.
Two things. Well, I speak to a lot of students at university level and things. And my best piece of advice for people that get assigned the role of social media person at their company is, and this applies to someone older or a new student, please don't accept the role and the responsibility without the first action item that your management team and you put together is a social media policy that has an escalation that says when something goes wrong, who's in charge, who's the management person. Because if you don't have that, if you don't have a way to protect yourself, the comments, all the stuff that happens on the internet, I don't care if you're a manager or the person that just got out of college, you will be the one on the chopping block that goes. And you've got to make your organization take responsibility by putting that policy in place. And who you escalate a problem to. And that also helps employees who are not on the social media team, when they see things, who does it go to? Southwest Airlines does not have 70 years of experience on the 3 people of their social media team for dumb reasons. They're very smart about the business experience they have, and someone just coming into business out of a college environment doesn't have that business experience. So that's my first word. The other thing I would mention, so I didn't go through the social media marketing program here. I went to a different one, so there's different options for you, depending on if you're looking for more tactical, more hands-on versus more strategy, more group work. So I did something through the Social Media Academy. And is Stephanie Udell here? She just finished a social media community manager program with Social Media Academy. It was a shorter course. And I know I'm talking to a few people in Madison about what they might get out of it, why it's something different. It was all online. I worked with a global team. So there's different kinds of educational experiences that you can have. We've got something here locally that's got a variety of things. If you're really looking to be strategy, leadership, I'd be happy to talk with anyone about Social Media Academy. And I'm teaching a class with them on social product development, and a class with Society of Automotive Engineers on social product development. So there's a lot of different kinds of opportunities that are not just how to use the tool, but how to be more strategic, how to lead in a role that you might have with your organization as well. And I know Janet Wardell's here. Janet Sticker is here, and I've gone in and talked to her in the EA class. Do you want to just comment about about your program?
I'm a professor at Princeton University. I'm chair of the business department. I also teach for New York Institute of Technology and the MBA. It's a completely virtual program, as well as Edgewood. And a couple of things I'd just like to comment. I really enjoyed what you had to say. One is that I do some work out of the Chicago area. One of the larger corporations, they've named what they call a chief media officer, with the understanding that that will fold in under marketing. And I like what you said originally about the fact that, you know, companies may name a particular person or department. But what we're finding is that the long-term view is that eventually this will all roll under marketing. Because if you think about it, social media is nothing more than another tool.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
it's another, in my toolkit, it's another way to get to my audience. I just came back from Academy of Management in San Antonio late last night. And this is the premier business professional organization for higher education. And what was amazing to me is that 40% of the participants this year were from outside of the United States. And I think that's a really important thing for us all to think about. And so when you talk about skills for the future, rather than focusing on social media experts, I would say critical thinking, business analytics, lifelong learning, and the ability to be adaptable and nimble. And I might add a second or third language, because I have been attending this academy for 10 years, and I have seen just a tremendous growth. And you know, the whole theme of the conference was the power shift from west to east. And it couldn't have been more prevalent in this 15,000 people at this conference. It couldn't have been more clear to all of us. And when we talk about sustainability, the triple bottom line, these are important aspects. And social media is just a smidge, or what I call just a touch point of the bigger picture that's going on. So I see the Google gentleman nodding, and you know what I'm talking about. There is a huge shift going on in how we look at marketing. And so I appreciate you giving us this snapshot, but there is also the 30,000-foot view that we all need to be aware of. Thank you.
No, I agree with that totally. So well, thank you.
I have something for you guys. By the way, just a point of reference, I just put together a project, a proposal for a client, and on my team, I had, as part of the Social Business Consulting Group, which is a global consultancy that I'm on, part of our technology group, we have 2 guys in Australia that are part of the team, 2 people in California, 1 person in North Carolina, and myself here in the Midwest, and 1 guy in Berlin, who is all together on this proposal for, it's a North American-based company that has some ideas about moving internationally, so we have a global team that can look at things differently. And we did that. We used our first webinar with GoToMeeting with video. We used the Google Hangout. Let's see what else. And we have a Facebook private group that we manage the group and communicate with. So in terms of facilitating a global group, a strategy to deal with larger clients, those are the things that are happening. I would like, since this is a breakfast group,
coffee.
This is coffee. This is made at Lodi Coffee Roaster in Lodi, Wisconsin. This is the Ferry Crossing blend, my favorite. I'd like to thank you guys for being our speakers today. Thank you, Kristen. Again, watch for our announcements for the next meeting, the 21st. We'll see how things shake out. The 3 coming up, and they may be in some different orders. Government 2.0, we're going to be talking, we have someone from talking about what they're doing at the county level. That's Kathy Marks from TMA Peritus. We have Neil Schulte from the Economic Development in Sun Prairie. I'm trying to get someone from the Madison Common Council, who's the president of that, to talk about what's happening at the Madison City level. And we have someone, Jennifer Smith, who's working on the Wisconsin Broadband Initiative through the UW Extension. So people dealing at different government levels and what they're using social media for and the challenges. that they're dealing with. Anything I forget, Marvick? Tony?
I want to make sure to recognize Solid Strauss is an ongoing sponsor. They do our signage for us.
And our new decals, you're all going to put on your cars.
They typically help with the name tags. I did them on my own this time. They've been a sponsor for, I think, 6-7 months now. Consistently doing these donations for us at no cost. And very
It's big.
Yeah,
It's big to have that kind of help. I
for
mean,
a
otherwise.
printing company, if you need printing, please consider Solid Strauss and make sure that you mention it.
All right. Does anybody else, Margaret?
I was just going to invite people to send along either email links or post to the Facebook page or something. We would like to know about more or the upcoming conferences and trade shows and things going on outside of Madison. I mean, there's quite a bit in and around Madison, but if you're aware of any other conferences in Milwaukee, Chicago, basically a driving distance, just let us know and put them up there. I think it would be nice to have some more activity on that side of things, because there really is a ton going on right now.
Okay. 2 other things I'm thinking about. Bloggers. Any of you people who have an aspiration to try blogging or would like to blog or would like to do a write-up. So we put all this energy into getting this meeting here, and I noticed that I've talked Doug Tangoff from Emerald Marketing to do a couple of the follow-up blog posts, which are really helpful. But I could really use volunteers from the group that say, I'd like to get my name on socialmediabreakfast.com/Madison with a link back to my company. I'll do the write-up in my view of the meeting. And if you'd like to write some other articles, it's great. The socialmediabreakfast.com/Madison. We don't have a lot of control in terms of what we can put up there because it's part of the national group. However, I'll make a mention that Madison and Social Media Club, which is the other group in Madison, we manage our own website, the Feeds National, and we have the opportunity to actually do blogging there. So again, if someone has a blog post that they've shared with their group and they'd like to get some more exposure to the social media community, as long as it's general interest, we'll do final editing. Social Media Club of Madison will post blog posts from other people to keep and feed our blog as well. So you can speak to me about that. You can do a post to Madison SMC at gmail.com as well. Yeah, that's right. So again, hit me up for anything. If you have an urge to blog and your company doesn't have a blog and you got something to say and it has to do broadly with the social media area and it's not too drastically self-serving, we would like to share that and share other people in the community who want to write about stuff that would be cool for other people to hear about it. We have a venue, and gosh darn it, we're looking for other people to help write because we just run out of time. Okay, thank you all for coming, all the newbies.